nights alive. Inner circles here where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come one, come all, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Inner Circle podcast. Tonight, we have a very, very special conversation. It's a community conversation on immigration safety, and we have a powerhouse guest. I'm your host or moderator, Abe Kamara, with my co-host, co-moderator, Miss B. And so join us, folks. If this is your first time joining us, please follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on X, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Please join us. So Representative Huldah, I will turn things over to you to introduce our powerful guest. And then from there, we'll jump right into things.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Abe and Ms. B and the entire Inner Circle podcast for really being a great partner for this and using your platform, especially within the African immigrant community in the state of Minnesota, to really get the word out, especially during this very difficult time that we're seeing our community go through. And I've always said that we are stronger together. And that means coming together as a community and acknowledging the harm and the fear and all of this chaos that is going on in our community that is completely, totally uncalled for with this current administration and demanding justice in the best way to we can. And that means that we have to know, where real authority, where real power lies, who actually has the power to make a difference. And to ask for actions to be done. Ultimately, as a community, what we want is to see ICE out of Minnesota, period. And that means we have to be strategic about, engaging the right the right stakeholders. And that's why we're having this conversation. Number one, to talk about, what is going on from the federal level all the way to the state level. We have amazing panelists of experts who will provide us accurate information and up-to-date information on what's going on. And then throughout the podcast conversation, we're going to hear from community organizers. What is out here? What resources are available for folks? And then we're going to hear from legal experts on what do you do, the do's and don'ts about, when interacting with ICE out here. We're going to hear resources about how the community can plug in, right? Yes, we want the word to get out in regards to community safety, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that we are providing the community opportunities how they can also plug in and be in this fight with all of us. So with that, I really want to thank all of the partners. If I don't get a chance to speak again, I would like to acknowledge all of our partners, the Reviving Sisterhood. I see my sister, Malaika here. Glad to have you here. Obviously, Inner Circle Podcast. I see Acer is here. Well, I see Mwanyagetinge organization, Madam President Roslinda is on the call. I see Cappy, Monique is representing Cappy here. I see our amazing attorney, Leo from AP Legal Services, LLC. Thank you, my brother, for being here. And then I also see, who am I missing? Global Fatherhood Foundation. He's not here, but he'll be joining. And then, yes, John, of course, from AC here. And I'm super excited for you to tell us team is doing in terms of lawsuits, right? And all the amazing work that you guys are doing. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it back to my brother Abe and Ms. B this conversation. And then for the audience, please send in your questions, whether that is in on YouTube, whether that is on Facebook, and then share so that we can get more people to join into this very important conversation. With that, I really want to thank all of you guys. And again, it's going to take a village for us to get through these difficult times. And this is not going to be the first time we're going to do this. We're going to continue having these informational conversations. And some of those conversations might be led by ACER, might be led by Reviving Sisterhood, might be Wanyagetinge. And I know that ACLU, John's team, is always having educational, informational conversations on a regular, I think by weekly, right? And so there's many ways that you can plug in. And so with that, please come with your questions. We're going to be tracking those questions and then giving them to the inner circle, our hosts, and then we will address them in the end here. So with that, thank you so much, and I hand it over to you, Abe, for you and Ms. B to take us through the rest of the agenda for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. First of all, a couple of housekeeping here. If you are listening to us tonight, you can please post your comment in the chat or call our number 952-594-5154 to ask any of our panelists if you have a question. Again, you can put a comment in the chat or call our number 952-594-5154. If you are part of the panelists and you want to come in studio, you have to be on camera. We want to make sure our audience are seeing you. So please, if you're trying to get into studio, please get on camera. Please put your camera on and we'll let you in. So if your camera is not on, I won't let you into the studio. So just to get that clear. So with that, Ms. B, do you have anything to add?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the Inner Circle podcast. I just want to say I'm glad and happy to be in community with everyone here tonight. For a very, very important conversation. And just want to share with our viewers, everybody out there, that the views and opinion are of everybody's own and the organizations that they represent tonight and that are not of Inner Circle podcast as well. But we are here in solidarity with everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. And then if you are not speaking and you have an echo in your background, our panelists here, please make sure and go on mute so that we can hear echo, right? We can minimize the echo. So I will go around to just give our panelists opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into things. So Leo, I'll let you go first to introduce yourself to our audience, and we can go around the room.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Leo Pei, practicing licensed attorney here in the state of Minnesota. Amongst a few other civil areas, I am an immigration attorney, and I've been helping folks get through this hard time, and I am happy to be here tonight and to participate in this wonderful community event. So bring on your questions, and hopefully everyone finds this very informative. Thank you.
Monique, thank you for that, Leo. Monique.
Hi, everyone. My name is Monique Hernandez. I am with CAPI Communities Advancing Prosperity for Immigrants. Thank you all for having me, and glad to join the discussion just to chat about what resources are available for the community.
Okay, I hope I'm getting this right. Is it Rosalita? So yeah, Rosalita, can you come off mute and introduce yourself, please?
Rosalita? Yep. Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Good evening. My name is Rosalita Nyabel. I'm representing the Manyagetinga, which is the. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know if it's my device. I'm hearing an echo.
I think you probably far away from your computer, but go ahead. We can still hear you though. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm here representing our Kenyan community.
We can hear you.
I
Go
need to
ahead.
know
Can you hear us? We can hear you. Go ahead.
I can hear you, but I'm hearing an echo.
I think it's a background then because I'm not hearing any echo from my end. Can you guys hear the echo? Are you guys hearing an echo? But go ahead. We can hear you. Okay. John, maybe like her, she might be having a mic problem. Go ahead, John.
Hi, thanks everyone for having me. John Beeler. I'm with the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, the Minnesota chapter. I'm a policy attorney there, so I mostly focus on legislation, working with Representative Huldah Hiltsley and her team at the Capitol. But I am a licensed attorney in the state of Minnesota as well, so there is some litigation background there as well. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, Malika.
Hi, good evening. My name is Malaika Tahir. I'm the Executive Director of Reviving Sisterhood. I'm a resident of Brooklyn Park, and I sit on various tables, including the Somali American Leadership Table, the Democracy Defense Table, and the Black Immigrant Defense Table. Great to be in community with you all this evening.
Okay, Aru.
Hey everyone, I'm Aru Shashikumar. I'm here representing ACER, African Career Education and Resources. I'm here to share some essential resources that we'll be able to connect the community with. Happy to be here.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for that great intro. We have some great questions from the audience tonight. We have audience questions coming in. So, Ms. B, I will turn over to you if you have like any question for any of the panelists, and then we'll jump into some audience question. You're on mute. Okay, go ahead.
So I know we can think about D-Day starting December 6th. And I can say that I'm noticing when it first started, we thought, oh, this is just a Minneapolis thing, right? As this thing has permeated to the suburbs and throughout the state, it has become very real when you see your neighbors have gone missing, disappeared, are in hiding, are sheltering in place, not even understanding what the correct, way to terminology that the fact that you are no longer seeing your neighbors, that folks that were outside and active and being vibrant are no longer visible, right? And you're wondering, do you go and check up on them? Do you call? Do you show up at their doorsteps? What exactly can you do, right? And so, again, I want this conversation to encompass and dive into all of that tonight, addressing the realities of what is happening on the ground in real time for folks.
Okay.
And so with that being said, I just really want to hear from, Miss Malika, being a resident, being a community member, and also being connected to all the organizations that you are connected to. It would be great to hear some stories about what's happening in real time on the ground.
Thank you. So in Brooklyn Park, we were not prepared at all because, as you mentioned, it really wasn't affecting us initially, and then all of a sudden, it was one weekend that we were getting hit all over the place. Neighbors getting stopped, pulled over, racially profiled because they were Black or brown, and then being detained. It affected our businesses here on the ground. We have two businesses that are documented to have at least temporarily closed in the short term. We have countless neighbors that are in detention. Some already, transported to different places like Texas and Louisiana without much due process. And this includes citizens. So when we think we are being saved by our citizens, no, we're still being pulled over due to our skin color and not given, due process. We have some elders who don't drive, who perhaps don't have, driver's licenses and, other forms of identification that are also being affected. So this is really horrible, for our community. And we're trying to build this system of response as it's happening, as things are coming in. We're working closely with the ACLU to try to get as much of these stories documented, especially before the lawsuit got filed. We had that deadline just to get some of these stories, so ensure that they are heard And, we're involved in a lot of rapid response, connecting people to food, people, especially our neighbors that are sheltering in place, connecting people to rent supports, to school, to
Okay.
somebody to drive them to schools. So
Mhm.
it's changed the entire landscape of the Brooklyn, and I'm going to include our neighbors, Brooklyn Center,
Sure.
in these things.
Okay. Well, Leo, right? It is. I think it is for you and John. I mean, a lot of U.S. citizens or even like legal immigrants, right? So they are getting stopped in the streets, right? Can ICE legally, stop someone on the street and ask them for their papers or ask them if they are citizen or they are here legally? We have seen that on social media. We have seen that on, national media, where folks are getting stopped here in Minnesota. Is that legal? Leo, I'll let you go first, and then okay, John will let you go first, and then Leo.
Yeah, sorry to jump in there. I think there's a difference between what's legal and what they are doing regardless.
Okay.
The answer to that is no, that it is not legal to pull people over on the basis of race or ethnicity or perceived race or ethnicity or any of those protected characteristics. But that doesn't mean that ICE isn't doing it. That is the basis of one of the lawsuits that the ACLU filed last week. That's Hussein v. Noam, and that's the allegation that the federal government is profiling on the basis of race, which is what we're seeing on the streets every day. Is that individuals in Minnesota are being stopped. ICE doesn't know who they are. They don't have a warrant. They have no suspicion that the person has committed a crime. They have no probable cause. But what they're doing is they're stopping on the basis of race or ethnicity or religious background or any other identifiable characteristic. And they're asking for identification, which also not illegal, but that doesn't mean they're doing it. That doesn't mean they're not doing it. It isn't legal, but it is what their practice is right now.
Okay. Leo, anything to add there? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Leo. You gotta go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I strongly echo the comments by John there. What they're doing is illegal. However, ICE is disregarding everything, breaking all the laws these days. And so it's incumbent upon our community members to really stand their ground, to be brave at this particular point in time, and just follow the rules. There's a number of resources out there. There's a number of community organizations that can help people with what they need to do during these illegal stops, during these illegal visits to their homes. I'll even call it that in certain in certain situations. And so it's highly important to know what your rights are and to stick to your guns, stand your ground.
Yeah, but we've been hearing that a lot, right? Stick to your guns, know your rights. But as you guys are saying, it's like they're stopping people randomly. So do we live, especially in Minnesota here, and maybe around the country where folks that are listening to us, do we have to carry our passports, our green cards as U.S. citizens, or our how you call it, if you're a legal resident? I mean, do you have to carry something, some kind of a document in the kind of environment we live in right now? John, or I mean,
Well,
any can take this. The
well,
world,
I think I think if you are in legal status, I think definitely have at least a copy of your documents with you that shows that you are a permanent resident or you are a citizen or you are in non-immigrant status. And I think I'll probably just at least take a copy of it, because there's also been instances where ICE is actually taking the original documents away from people. So I would say at least keep that on you. Maybe you don't want to have your passport with you, your original passport. You don't need to answer questions as to where you are born. Just you don't have to answer these law enforcement people, to be honest. But if you do have status, I would suggest to carry at least a copy of the proof of your status with you on your person at all times.
Okay, Ms. B, any question for any of the panelists?
I'm glad that you touched base on that, because that has been a conflict of contingent here is, do I need to carry my documents? Do I make it visible to them? And documents are expensive. Documents take time to get those back. And I know we've understood that they are taking those documents. So we just kind of want to reiterate and highlight the fact that it's best to have copies and not take your originals with you. I know people are carrying what is called the passport card around in connection to their passport. I would advise probably use your card versus the actual passport, or have a copy with you, just so that you do not lose your documents, your real documents, to ICE. And so with that being said, I want us to understand, are we at this place where anybody can be detained, regardless of showing documentation to ICE, regardless of your legal status? Or are we saying that is it folks that are on document, or where your status is kind of in limbo, are the ones who should be most alarmed? Or is it fair game that anybody can be picked up at this point? Anyone can answer that.
Maybe the lawyers in the room, John or Leo.
I'll let John go, since I spoke not too long ago.
Sure, and I'd like to echo what Leo said there about copies, but I would advise that somebody in your family should know where the originals are kept, just to keep those numbers ready for when they need to look them up. That's always a good backup plan to have that available. What we're seeing on the streets is that anybody can be stopped and detained, but can be, again, does not make it legal. Those are illegal stops, those are illegal searches, those are illegal seizures at every step. If they detain citizens, if they detain non-citizens, because if we want to clarify that being present in the country without documentation is not a crime. It's a civil offense. It does not necessitate an arrest, nor does it necessitate a detention. And Leo can hopefully jump in there in a second, but they are detaining U.S. citizens, they're detaining green card holders, they're detaining lawful permanent residents, asylum seekers, and people without documentation. So wherever you fall on that spectrum, we'd recommend that you have somebody who knows when and where you should be, and access to your documents and your important numbers, somebody that you trust, like a passport number or birth certificate or social security number, alien registration number, whatever they're going to need to locate you after the fact. What we have seen a lot of is that U.S. citizens are detained and then eventually released. There is no reason for them to continue to detain U.S. citizens. There's no reason to detain them in the first place. There's no reason to detain them for a while, but detaining U.S. citizens is not allowing them to hit their immigrant detention or deportation quota numbers. So they are trying to either hold and punish the observers or U.S. citizens and then release them. But we are not seeing anybody necessarily spared that detention, particularly if they resemble members of that protected class, which at this point is anybody that's basically non-white in the state of Minnesota. We saw the enforcement scale up between the Latino communities, and then the Somali community and the African community, and now they're targeting the Hmong community as well. So essentially, and they've picked up Native American tribal members as well, because they're very indiscriminately stopping all non-white people and demanding identification.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's someone said, right? Is this a hopeless situation? Because I mean, it's like there's a serious fear in the community right now. Folks are afraid to come out. So any of the community member can take this. So, I mean, looking at what is happening in Minnesota over the last couple of weeks, as Ms. B said, is this a hopeless situation? Are we in like a no man's land? Anyone can take this. Monique, maybe you can take this one first.
Let me go ahead and chime in with that. It is absolutely not a hopeless situation. We're seeing community come out in unprecedented ways to support anybody who's being detained. They're documenting, they're whistleblowing, and we've had community members successfully stop abductions, right? So it's absolutely not a hopeless situation, but we also have to exercise our due diligence and realize that these people are not working under any kind of constitution or legal means, as the two lawyers said. Absolutely carry a copy of your IDs leave the originals at home. We've had to go to Whipple and bring original documents to get U.S. citizens out, right? But that's just like a way of intimidation tactic. That there's nothing in it for them to hold you, and they want you to be hopeless and to despair. We cannot give that to them. We take pride in Minnesota is showing up in unprecedented ways for each other, supporting each other, and not letting them bully our immigrant communities.
Okay. I will, as a community organization, ASA or any members here of community organization can take this, right? What are you guys doing? What are community organizations doing to help those that are afraid to leave their houses, even legal resident or citizen, folks that are just afraid to go to work, to to go to church, or just to come outside? What are community organizations doing to help? The community. I will.
Yeah, I can take that one. It is pretty hard. Like we are, or nonprofits like ASA, we are trying our level best to position our resources at a time like this. It is unprecedented, and I think the best we can do as a community is to stand in solidarity. We do have a lot of business, small and micro businesses in our community that is either shutting down their operations or have minimized their operations. If you are a business owner whose operations are affected and needs and seeking essential resources, do contact us. We can, if not providing direct service at a moment like this, we can try our level best to connect to needed partners and resources that you might be in need during such a time. If you're sheltering and if you're currently in need of like groceries, legal assistance, housing support, unable to pay for housing, or even critical transportation services, again, those are resources that we might be able to connect you with. If you know a family member who's like detained and might need a lawyer, that is also something we are trying to connect with. We are in the moment of setting up a hotline where folks might have a more streamlined way of contacting an individual and getting connected in a more streamlined way. That is in the works, and hopefully in the coming days, that's something we'll be able to push it out to the community as well. But more importantly, I feel we also need to step out as volunteers, as a community, stand together. We need more community members doing observer training or joining trusted messenger rapid response groups where we can see ICE activity, notify our neighbors, connecting our neighbors to similar Know Your Rights training like this today, share information back to your neighbors who do not know about this information. And we also need more community volunteers who can actually go out and help leaders who are already
Okay.
doing grocery distribution.
Okay. Well, maybe like we'll try as much as possible, right, to take the audience question as they come in. So there's one here. Maybe for the two lawyers again, you guys are going to be very busy tonight. Can ICE be sued, or can the government be sued for what they are doing in Minnesota and around the country? John, Leo, any of you guys can take this one.
Well, depending on the situation, yeah. I mean, there's a few different legal grounds on which an individual can sue a state or a federal government if their civil rights were abused. But however, in this particular climate that we're in which we're dealing with an administration that that's pretty much lawless, brutal, doesn't care about people's rights, I think the focus should be more on what to do, what we're talking about when ICE comes around for now, and worry about having to bring or file a lawsuit later, especially if it's a personal lawsuit on your behalf. And what I would also say to that is the importance of documenting everything that's happening. This is probably something that John can speak to if a situation requires a bit more class action type litigation that has to do with violation of constitutional rights. Those things are helpful when it's documented. So that's also something that I would strongly encourage community members to do. But the focus should be knowing your rights and being and legal preparedness.
Okay. Thanks for that, John. Right. I'll let you maybe take this one. Is there a way to get access to anyone who get picked up by ICE? Because and here's the thing. I will add to that. Right? Folks are being moved out. Around the country. We have heard when folks are getting picked up in Minnesota, they're getting moved to Texas, to Omaha, to Louisiana. Is there a way to get in touch with your family member if someone has been detained or picked up by ICE?
Sure. And if I could just jump on the end of Leo's answer there real quick. In terms of documentation and filing those lawsuits, the individual lawsuits, I agree with Leo that it's, you have time. We need to ride the storm out, and you should speak with private attorneys about filing those claims in your time. The ACLU and the Minnesota Attorney General are both filing large litigations trying to restrict how ICE and CBP can behave. And so both the Attorney General and the ACLU have forms on their websites where you can report those incidents. And partly what we're trying to do when we try to restrict the government is we need to show that those claims are broad, that they're kind of recurring, and that they're happening all over the state. And so that's why we're collecting a lot of instances in our organization, but also the state level. To make sure that we have sufficient documentation. We go to the court, we say that ICE is out of control, and here's how and why and how often it's recurring. As to whether or not, if there's a way to get access to anyone who's picked up by ICE, ICE does have a locator where you can find detainees. You'll need either their alien registration number, that's the A number. That's usually the fastest way. But you can also, if you know name, date of birth, and country of origin, you can search by that. The only major limitation on that is that it requires ICE to do back-end data entry. So that requires them to do timely updates of when people are transferred, of where they're located. So you should be continuously checking that portal if somebody has been detained. But you should also know that, their ICE is not updating those records either due to overwhelming numbers or intentional delays. But there have been lots of instances of attorneys not even knowing where their clients are being transferred to or receiving notification. But yeah, there is a way. It's an ICE locator. And I think if you just Google an ICE CBP locator, that should show up.
Okay. Thank you for that, John. Huldah, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I want to add in regards to this very important question, how to get access. Yes, of course, that locator is a great tool to figure out where they are. But now, how do you get access? Can you communicate with them, right? And so that's a very important part of how families can get a hold of their loved ones who've been detained. And the best part, the best way you can go about it is reach out to your congregational Congress members, right? So whether that is, Kelly Morrison here in CD 3, Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar in CD 5. So figure out who your congregational person is, member, and reach out to them because they have the authority to reach out to ICE directly. Because if me as a state legislator reaches out, they would care less whether I exist, right? But if our Congress members do reach out, they're obligated to give them the information. Now, the best way to get access, even get communication channels open is to make sure that we are proactive as a community beforehand, right? All of the, and folks on the call here who have more information about this, but all of our Congress members have what we call like a privacy, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a privacy notice form. If we can complete that, keep it, safe, give it to somebody that we can trust. And if our loved one is picked up, guess what? You give that to your congregational member, and they have now the authority to reach out to ICE directly and say, hey, here is the form that gives me authorization to get information about this individual. And then they can open those communication channels for you. I just wanted to note that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I've been in touch with with folks actually in detention at the ICE facility that I'm working with a family member now that and I had an opportunity to speak with the guy, and I was able to track another guy that's in detention. So there's a phone number. I don't have that at the moment that you can call and then to talk to someone in detention. I just wanted to add that.
We'll get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Anybody wants to quickly write it down? It's 651
Okay.
641
Okay, hold on. There's a 651
641
641
1011.
1011. Again, 651 uh-huh
641
641
1011.
1011. So that's the number to call to get in touch with your family member or to get in touch with ICE.
Correct. That's the
Okay.
detention center direct line.
Okay.
In lieu of if you don't want to look it up online, so you have both options. And that one is Monday, 2 to 4 p.m. Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. It's just kind of the hours are kind of funny, but it's a number that you can call.
Okay. Folks, we have question coming in very hard. It's a very important topic. The community that asking some great question. And I know it's like if we don't, we have panelists on here. We have not gotten to you. It's not that we are ignoring you. The questions are coming, and we got two good lawyers on here. So whatever. So please be patient with us. Miss B, any question for the panelists?
I just wanted to get clarity on the alien number. Is alien number something that immigrants only have? Do citizens also have an alien number? What exactly is an alien number?
An alien number is typically assigned to, in terms of citizen, if it's a naturalized citizen, that naturalized citizen would have an A number because they probably would have been a permanent resident first before they became a naturalized citizen. So that's one. A non-immigrant, so for example, someone who came to the US either on a student visa or on a visitor's visa or on an H-1B work visa, who came in and somehow eventually lost their status, but never had any encounters with USCIS or immigration, typically would not have an A number until they file to get benefits or until they are apprehended. So, for example, if you came into the US, let's say 10 years ago on a visitor's visa and overstayed and lost status, and all of a sudden you're picked up in one of these ICE raids, the moment ICE starts to process you, which they're supposed to do, you'd most likely get an A number at that point in time.
Okay.
Does that answer your
Thanks
question?
for that.
Yes, that was great clarity for a lot of folks out there, I'm sure, wanting to have the most up-to-date information to be able to access their loved ones.
Right. So, and if I may just quickly add, that makes it slightly, not much, but slightly challenging if you're trying to get in touch with a loved one who overstayed their visitor's visa and doesn't have an A number yet. Not that much more challenging, but with the A numbers a little quicker, especially if some data entry has been done. If you don't have the A number, you could still go to ICE Locator and search by their name and their date of birth and their country of origin, the country they came from, if some data entry has been made.
Okay. Monique, how do we get here, right? I mean, it's in this kind of an environment. I know, the administration ran on this platform of, aggressive immigration enforcement, deportation. But how did Minnesota get here? For us to be in a kind of a spotlight.
You're asking that question to me or Malika?
Yes. No, to you, Monique. Sorry.
How did we get here? I am confused every day, I think. Somebody said, is this a hopeless situation? I don't think it is. I think they want to make an example of Minnesota, right? There's fear, there's intimidation, but I think Minnesota is flipping the script on that, and we're showing them the example of we show up for our community. We are here, the outpouring of support that has happened for community members that we're seeing for immigrant refugee communities, businesses, neighbors, everyone. So this is the example we're setting in Minnesota, that like not on our watch, we are here to stand up for these communities. So just ask how we got here. I don't know that I have a correct answer for that, or even a smart answer for that. But what I do see is that we're not allowing that to get in our way of supporting the communities that need support.
Okay.
Abe, can we get John to talk about, like, from the federal level, how it started from the federal level all the way to now, what's going on in the state of Minnesota, and also numbers, right? And like, how many ICE agents do we have on the ground? And maybe that can give the audience an idea of like how we quote got here, right? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. John, go ahead.
Thank you, Representative. Yes, so we saw the initial Metro Surge operation begin in December. That was about 300 additional ICE and CBP agents, and that was ostensibly to investigate fraud, though I don't believe we've seen any active fraud investigation from these surged officers. There were some clashes with protesters and observers in St. Paul, and then at Carmel Mall in Minneapolis. And then we saw a surge of about 2,000 more agents from ICE, CBP, and then other federal agencies in the new year. I think we have about 3,000 agents in the state right now. It's federal law enforcement officers. And the president has threatened to use the Insurrection Act to declare Minnesota in a state of insurrection and send in federal troops. So that would be standing army troops. And I think there's about 1,500 on standby. That still seems like more of a threat than anything else. There would be definite litigation filed by the state to prevent that. What we've seen on the ground, and the community leaders can speak to that as well, as overwhelmingly peaceful protests, peaceful recording. There is ICE and CBP and the DHS have been very confident and comfortable saying that people would simply stay inside and let them do their jobs, that there would be peace in the streets. Well, our response has constantly been that if ICE would leave, there would be peace in the streets, because ICE is not bringing peace to our streets. They're not bringing peace to our communities. They're disrupting them violently in most cases. And all they've done is really solidify Minnesotans' commitment to each other.
Okay. There's another important one, right? This viewer is saying, the audience member is saying, I was told today that as an asylee, it's better to voluntarily leave the country because ICE now looks for people with pending cases from Africa, from Latin America, from wherever, and sends them back to, if it's Africa, sending them back to Uganda or Ghana. Leo or John, do you guys know anything about this? Is this something that you can speak to? Leo, John, do you have you got hit? Go ahead. Go ahead, Leo.
I do know that the current. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I do believe the current administration does have agreements with some African countries to accept deportees from the United States. In the cases that I have had, I have not in my office dealt with individuals who are being deported under this so-called agreement. Knock on wood, at least not yet. But the question I saw is that if you are an asylee, is it better to voluntarily leave? If you're an asylee, you have status in the US. You're not, that's after being an asylum applicant. That means that you applied for asylum and you were granted asylum. That means you're an asylee and you're here in the US. So I wouldn't voluntarily leave because there's no, you're an asylee, you're in status. Now, even if you are in the process of applying for asylum, if your asylum application is pending, you still have every right to be in the US until there has been a decision made on your asylum application. I would strongly encourage people to stand up for themselves and see through the end of their various immigration applications, especially if you have something pending. There is a lot of intimidation out there. It's part of the goal to instill fear in people and even make some folks already have some sort of status other than permanent residency to get so afraid to a point where they want to leave. So if you're an asylee, which means that after a year in asylee status, you qualify, you can apply for permanent residency. Why do you want to succumb to fear and then just voluntarily leave?
Okay. I think there is in addition. I mean, the other question too, right? Is in addition to this, I think John, maybe or Leah, I know you can take this one. Is it since it's unlawful to send you back to your country of origin and possibly kept in their prison? Is there any truth in this? I don't know whether they are saying if they send you back to your home country, your country of origin, can you be kept in jail or maybe to a third party country or something? Is it John or Leo, NOU? Maybe John, ACLU, man. Yeah.
It seems like
I'm
the
sorry,
question was a piggyback on the same question. I kind of feel like Leo may have answered that if you but go ahead, John. I felt like the question was a repetitive or a piggyback to the last question, but go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think just to follow up on Leo's points there, I think that if you have asylum status, if you have been granted asylum, that is, asylum is not necessarily easy to get. You have proven your case, you have been granted asylum. That means you are in danger if you would go back home. And I think that it's worth continuing that fight here, but each person has to make their own decisions for their own families. I would certainly consult with an immigration attorney before you do anything like that, particularly to make sure that if you're going to accept any agreement to be sent home, that it's very clear as to where you are being sent, on what circumstances, and if there are some sort of payment that the federal government is offering, that all of that is ironed out in advance through an attorney, because this federal government has not been trustworthy in those situations.
Okay. Well, folks, tonight the question that come in very hard. Folks are very contributing with things to our audience. If you have more questions, please put your question in a chat or your comments or whatever, and we'll make sure our panelists do their best to answer them. Ms. B, any question from you to any of the panelists?
Yes, I want to hear more from the community organizations on just some high-level resources and how people can contact you. And then I want to hear from Representative Hiltsley about business resources. We're great about getting the social services aspect of resources in these times, but we can see that the ethnic economy is under attack, serious attack, as our businesses, they were resilient through the pandemic. And I feel like we're back in pandemic times when it comes to our businesses. I mean, you go online and you're seeing temporarily closed, or you're seeing they're closed, or you're seeing that, they have been raided by ICE and their force, their attack, their team have been taken. And so I want to ask Representative Hiltsley, what is the legislators doing as far as getting resources out to the businesses? What is their emergency response in resources to businesses? But first, want to hear from the community organizations.
So, Rosalita, I'll let you go first, and then we'll go to Veronica, and then Aru, and then Monique.
From my community, we have identified a safe place where they can we can get some donations, and we do have some volunteers who are willing to take food, dry food, that is, any groceries and household supply. But again, they are afraid because they think that when they are reporting to us, some of us may be reporting them to ICE. Like yesterday, I had a scenario where some people came to me and said that there's a pastor in St. Paul who was calling people for, he told people to come for help, but when they came, he was calling ICE. I hear he's one of the directors. I don't know. I'm not very sure, but is what I've heard. But what we are doing now is identifying volunteers who can be able to deliver food and dry food and supplies to the people who are not able to get out because of the fear of ICE.
What message? Just a follow-up question to that. Right? What message then are you giving your community that are afraid? Right? You have all of these. You have donations. What message are you giving your community? And the message of reassurance, right? That hey, there are resources available. There, you can do X, Y, Z. I mean, what kind of assurances are you giving your community?
I feel like most of them, they are just afraid because of what they see out there. So the assurance is that they should compose themselves and know that they can be able to work. Those who have a legal status to work in the US, they can still go to work without getting afraid of encountering with the ICE. And for those who are not able to work, especially those who don't have the document, the document, they can stay home and if they wanna worship online or stuff like that. And
Sure.
again, we do have so many community leaders who are willing to help them. They can go to them and give them whatever they need. So they should not
Okay.
fear to come to us.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Veronica, what is MN African Youth Initiative doing?
So one of the things is we're working predominantly with students, F1 students. So we have a group of them. And unfortunately, we have a few of them that have already been collected by ICE. And so trying to connect them with the resources. I think one of the resources we're working on with Huldah is some of them have been given bail, and the bail is being set at 15,000, which is, as an F1 student, that is like a dream. You can, so rallying the community to kind of chip in so that we can be able to bail them out, so they can figure themselves on this end. Some of them are in school, and some we have one that had actually documented of that was approved, and so just the fact through some
Okay.
treatments. So we had an off school excuse, but he is in. So we're trying to figure. The other thing is we have a lot of people who've lost confidence, or not say confidence, but they don't have trust, because we have some, people that are online that are from our communities saying that what is being done is right, because, one of the message, something I saw on Facebook, somebody wrote was that, God is
Okay.
not a God of lawlessness, and that whatever is going on, that God is, Trump is making things right.
Okay.
I just want to let the community know that you can trust us. As Rosalinda said, some people are scared of getting help, but this weekend we spent the whole weekend delivering food, delivering homeworks. We have some kids that didn't go to school because the parents are scared to leave the home. So we made arrangements and picked up the schoolwork for them and dropped it up to them and picked them up this evening so we can drop them off tomorrow because there's no school today. And so that's
Okay.
some of the things that the community knows that we are able to do for them. We can go to school, pick up your homework, and drop it up for your kids.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if they
Okay.
need
That's
help
a
with
good.
the homework in the house, we will be able
Okay.
to help them out.
Okay. That's a great initiative right there. Monique, let me go to you. Monique, what is CAPI doing to help the community? What are the resources that you are providing to the community?
Yeah, so we have a culturally specific food shelf. We've had that for years. That's how CAPI began, but it is still a pillar of our services. So our culturally specific food shelf is running. We're connecting people with grocery delivery. We have families that have been calling in needing that, and we are connecting them with people who are able to deliver groceries. CAPI is working with, we're partnering with the Immigrant Defense Network to get people connected with rapid response and to be able to show up where various raids are happening and just getting them the resources on how to be a constitutional observer. So yeah, there are a number of ways CAPI can help. We're collecting food, culturally specific food right now. We're collecting hygiene items for people so we can distribute those out too, along with groceries. And we're planning a packing event for February 15th, where we would just get community members to come together and pack all of these items together, and then we will distribute them on a later date.
Okay.
So yeah, but please do, if people need food, if people need connections like that, CAPI can surely help. And I think one way that our community at large needs to think about is prescriptions. How do people get their medication? How do we connect people to that resource? So we are open to discussing how to make that possible.
Okay, that's great. Well, Representative Huldah, Ms. B had a question for you. What are legislatures doing, state representatives, state senators? I mean, what is the government doing to help small businesses? Can you speak to that?
I mean, I think the most important thing that folks are wondering, is there any funding, right? Because ultimately, right now, our businesses are being hit very hard. And to be honest, there's no current funding for, for funds for small businesses that is specific for ICE rates. As many of you guys know, the legislators in recess, right? And so we don't go into session until February 17th. And I know many of us are working on some of these legislative pieces that we want to present, whether that is emergency grants for the businesses. But I also want to note there are current programs that are already in place that small businesses can tap into. And so, for example, existing general business support funds can be used to, address some of the related losses if framed right? You have to make sure that, you adhere to the requirement of those grants. For example, the Promised Act grant, state program awards grant to businesses and communities, affected by, structural structural discrimination, loss of population, economic disruption, right? So we can use that and frame it to, hey, ICE is terrorizing our communities, our small businesses. Literally, like this past week, a couple of community members, that some of them sitting here, the mayor of the city of Brooklyn Park and a couple of legislators, we went around the community the last 2 weeks, really talking to businesses, the very diverse community of businesses, especially in the Brooklyn Park district here. And what we are hearing is, number one, we are seeing a decline up to even 50-70% decline in business, because obviously of the various factors that are playing into this. People are afraid of going out. Folks are afraid to go into work. And so, businesses are being hit twice, right? Folks are afraid to go out to eat or order food. And then secondly, they don't have enough workers. I saw a post the other day that just broke my heart, where a business was like, we can no longer, stay open because, number one, we don't have workers who want to come in because they're afraid of their own family members, or whether they are documented, if they're legally here working, they're afraid, right? And so another one is the Emerging Entrepreneur Loan Program, Promise Loan Program as well. So some of these businesses can tap into that. And again, these are pre-existing programs. And so what I want to tell, especially our African immigrant community businesses, if you haven't tapped in the current programs that are out there, please reach out to my office. Let's figure out who are you. And then also organizations like ACER, who work with community organizations and businesses, right? To talk about what grant or what program is appropriate for your business. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that. I think John or Leo, you guys can take this. Is the aid number, which is the ADN number again, is it the same on the natural? Is that the same number on the naturalization certificate?
I think on the naturalization certificate, there's two set of numbers. There's a certificate number, and it also shows your A number. And those, I believe those two things are different. So you have to look closely.
Okay, John, anything to add there? Okay.
No, let me just.
Yeah. Can either of you speak to the different kinds of warrant that is out there? There's judicial warrant and administrative warrant. I know there's a Liberian guy who, I show up at his house in North Minneapolis, and I think they came with a judicial warrant. Can ICE enter your home with any kind of a warrant, judicial or administrative? John or Leo, can any of you speak to this, please?
Sure.
Take that.
No, the main difference between the administrative and judicial warrant, the judicial warrant will have a court name at the top, it'll have a judge's name, and it'll have a judge's signature. Those are the main three things you want to look for. With a judicial warrant, they can enter a property or they can arrest a person identified on that judicial warrant. So it's going to say the list of areas to be searched, the list of assets or items to be seized, or the person to be arrested. That's all going to be specified on that judicial warrant. An administrative warrant's not going to have that level of detail and does not entitle them to enter your business or your property. But the judicial warrant would, if it's filled out correctly, and it would be limited to those items on the judicial warrant or the people on that judicial warrant.
Okay. Leo, anything to add there?
No, I think that's correct. It's but when these things are happening, when they're at your home, I know it's happening very fast. I think you want to look very quickly what court it says. It has to be a federal court, and then you look at what the signature is. It has to be signed by a judge or a magistrate judge. Then the third thing is to look for your name in the middle and the areas to be searched.
Okay. I know our Somali brothers and sisters have been under the spotlight. The commenter is saying here, our Somali neighbors continue to be greatly impacted. Most recently, they have been threatened that their TPS status will end in March. How can we support our Somali friends and their families? Malika, maybe I can let you take this one.
Sure, thank you. We appreciate that. So you can support organizations that are supporting the Somali community at Reviving Sisterhood. We're doing some rapid response efforts. We're doing some Know Your Rights training, upstander training. We're also doing an online intake for observers who have been harmed and things like that. Deep in the rapid response, we're delivering food, groceries, ensuring kids get to school and things like that. Other partner organizations like CARE MN and Ayada Leads are also supporting the Somali community. So you can look into any of these organizations to support your Somali neighbors.
Okay, thank you for that. I think, again, that is for maybe you guys, I think you guys might have answered this as well, but maybe, so for purposes of identification to ICE agents, can the passport card be as good as the passport book? John, Leo, you guys are the lawyers here. Can it
For the
this one? Yeah, the passport card and the passport book can
identify the ICE agents be as good as the passport card? Yes, because a passport card is also issued to citizens. Actually, if you have if you're a citizen and you have a passport card and a passport, I would suggest walking around with a copy of the passport card or the passport card itself. If they take the passport card, at least you still have the passport book. Don't use the passport book. Use a copy of the passport card or the passport card itself, because I think that might be even easier to replace if they take it away from you, but it's just as good.
Okay. So another question here. So last one. Why would they arrest someone with their child and separate both in detention, making it hard to locate their child as they don't have a database for children? John, can you take this from you?
Miss Abe, before John answers that, I want to quickly just go back to the passport part. When it comes to folks who are not citizens of this country, is it advised to walk around with your passport, right? Because I've gotten a couple of calls and messages to my office. Folks are worried that if they carry their actual passport, that allows, right, ICE to straight up deport them. So what would you guys' advice on that?
I think a copy should be fine. The copy would have your passport number on it, which is searchable in the database to confirm your citizenship. So if you either have a copy of that or you have your passport number written down somewhere along with your name, date of birth. They should be able to look that up. Whether or not they're going to in the moment or they're going to do it sometime in your detention is unfortunately sort of up to ICE's CBP's discretion. Again, it would be an illegal warrantless seizure of you, but they have been doing that. But I would just advise to people to carry either a copy or the number itself.
Okay.
And
So
Huldah, I'm assuming you're talking about the U.S.
No.
yeah, it's a U.S.
Oh.
No,
I'm not-
we're talking
I'm not-
about if I'm from Liberia and I'm carrying around my Liberian passport as a source of identification,
Okay.
are they readily then going to deport me back to Liberia? And my question would be is why am I using my Liberian passport? Is it because I don't have status and I want to have some kind of identification? I would just honestly off the top of my head think that wouldn't be advisable. You would be trying to prove your status here in this country and not necessarily the country you are from, because the thing you're being questioned about is your ability to be here legally. But the lawyers can weigh in.
Bill, John.
Yeah,
can
because
someone
I
carry
believe
that?
John was assuming that what was being talked about is a U.S. passport, correct? Mhm.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to
And
clarify
I
that
do
prior
agree
advice was
with-
for U.S. passport holders.
Right. But I do agree with Ms. B. If you are a foreign national and you have status in the U.S., at this point, I wouldn't counsel you to be walking around with your passport. Rather, I would counsel you to be walking around with copies of proof of your status. And
Okay.
if you have status in the U.S., you most likely probably also have a driver's license or a Minnesota ID. So that coupled with proof of immigration status copies, that should be enough. But if you do have the passport on you, I think that could very well open all kinds of can of worms.
Okay. So let's talk about separation, right? Again, why would they arrest someone with their child and separate both in detention, making it hard to locate a child as they don't have a database for children? John, yeah. Go ahead.
I don't have a legal answer for that, but the interpretation that we can make is cruelty. A lot of what is going on here is motivated by cruelty and hatred. And that's the only plausible reason for that. It's why they've left children in cold cars here. It's why in my hometown in New Jersey today, they left a 6-year-old at the supermarket when they took his father. It's a program, a policy, an agency designed to maximize cruelty and maximize harm. There's no other legal justification for it. There's not a policy in place that supports that. So that's the best we can infer as to why they're doing that. Until we hear differently, I think the inference is pretty strong.
Okay. There's another question from an audience member. Okay, go ahead.
I kind of want to reiterate that because I know we had talked about that on the show last week, that it is not a practice, or I don't know if it's in job description or obligation for them to care what happens to the minor child. The once they have taken the parent, I know even prior to this, as my family has been impacted with that scenario, no one came to ask what happened to the kids, where they ended up, or to keep that connection between the child and the parents. It is not immigration's responsibility. It is not something that they practice as well. It is up to us, and that's why community standing in solidarity and unity is important. Most likely that child will end up in child protection services, or if possible, I know in the past, other family members have taken on the responsibility of said children or child, gone through the court process to have legal rights to that child once they can determine that parent has been detained or deported and have lost all legal rights to their child because they are no longer in the country.
I just want to piggyback off of something that was said, and this is very important because they don't care what happens to the children. It's up to us to be able to take care of our children. So if you are somebody who may be impacted, please ensure that you have a DOPA ready to go. DOPA is Delegation of Parental Authority. At Reviving Sisterhood, we have notary publics that can come to your house, ensure that that form is notarized, because once the children are in public care, they will not just release them to your family. It's not like, oh, Malika said her sister going to take care. No, they need something written to ensure that, my directive. So please ensure if you are an impacted person, you have the DOPA signed and ready to go. We can come to you if you feel like, it's just not safe to go outside.
Okay. Well, folks, the show tonight is for 1 hour, 30 minutes. Normally we do 1 hour, but man, the question has been coming in very, very great. It's a great conversation, great information that you guys are providing. You really, really appreciate it. That you're providing the community, because there's lots of fear in the community, right? And not only in Minnesota, right? Minnesota is the epicenter, but I think all over this country, immigrants from all over America, right, are really, really feeling the heat, from the administration. So I guess my question for you guys is, I know you guys can take this. Is America becoming unsafe for immigrants? Well, legal immigrants, illegal immigrants, is America becoming unsafe? Is it still a country of immigrants? Any of you guys can take this one. Anyone?
Well, as to whether the U.S. is becoming unsafe for immigrants, I think the question is sadly yes, obvious, but hopeful that will turn around. That it's temporary, but it's for the time being, it's obvious. I don't think you can really deny that, especially if you're living in Minnesota.
Okay. Just looking at what is going on in Minnesota, right? For the community organizations, because this might happen anywhere else in the country. What advice can you guys give to other community organizations in other states, right? It's like, considering what has been happening over the last couple of weeks, months, what advice, like maybe Monique, I'll let you take this one from Cappy, and then we can go around, and then maybe Aru, so what advice will you guys give other organizations in other states, maybe Texas, maybe Florida, maybe Arizona, New York, Pennsylvania, when ICE come there and doing a search, what advice will you guys give to other community organizations there from what you have learned so far?
Yeah, I would say I think one of the most important things is to find other organizations in your network or who are doing the same work to partner, build those partnerships. Cappy works strongly with ACER, trying to shore up some of that support in the Brooklands area. We've seen a lot of support in Minneapolis, but as we get to the northwest suburbs, it doesn't have a quick, rapid response. It doesn't have kind of some of the resources that are happening in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So I just solidifying those relationships with people so you can build a network to help the community members and just really having those deep conversations with city officials, with city members and law enforcement to see what is your plan? How are you going to help our community members and building those relationships too? So you can make sure what their role is in this and how are they going to, again, support community in this.
Okay. Aru, anything to add there?
Yeah, I'll add to one. In addition to finding partnership with other organizations, also base building in the community, even if you're not a typical organization, there is no better time to organize a community to make sure you have a network ready when your state is next to hit. Additionally, also fundraising and diversifying your funding streams. As a nonprofit, funding comes with strings, and emergency responses and those things are not easy with typical nonprofit funds that we operate under. So just finding creative ways to have diversified funding also helps.
Okay, thanks.
To that, I would also add ensuring that, like in terms of healthcare, we've noticed that we have to build a network of providers who are willing to either meet with patients online or even come to their homes, mental health services and things like that. So building these networks and connections so that you're able to rapidly respond to the needs of your communities, in addition to everything my comrades just said.
Yeah. Um. So I think maybe John, you can take this, or maybe Leo as well. How long do you think this thing is going to go on? Right, like the Operation Metro Search in Minnesota, or maybe wherever the president decides to send ICE agent. How long are we going to be in this thing as immigrants? Right? We are all thinking, how long is it going to last?
I think
That's
we're going to.
go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think we are going to see an ICE presence in the cities in the state for a while. I think the surge will die down either through the litigation that we in the state are bringing or through simply a lack of targets at this point, which is an unfortunate point to be at. But what we've seen are increasing detentions of American citizens, increasing profiling of American citizens, but further detentions aren't allowing ICE to hit their numbers. And for the first time since I've lived here, I'm pretty grateful it's going to be 20 below this weekend. Let them enjoy that. But I do think we'll see it slow down the next few months. That's kind of how long it's lasted in LA and Chicago and Portland. As the administration seeks to continue to ramp up their deportation numbers, they're just going to have to look for more heavily populated areas, which is an unfortunate reality that we're here in Minneapolis and Minnesota, just kind of hoping that they move to somebody else's community. It's kind of a win-lose situation there for us.
Okay. Leo, you wanted to add something?
No, I agree with what John just said. However, it's a $1 million question, but I do think that it will tend to die down. I think litigation is going to have some sort of impact. I think public opinion is growing and turning against this. I'm hoping that that will have an effect on it. But ordinarily speaking, from looking at cities like Chicago, I think it was pretty intense there for at least 2, maybe 3 months before it died down. So maybe by that estimation, but for exactly how long it's going to go on, we really don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I
I
would
think
like
while you
to
guys are on the, while you guys are still there, Ms. B, can you? Okay,
no,
go ahead. Go ahead, Ms.
You
B.
can finish with your question. My question is a different question.
Yeah, yeah. While the lawyers are still on the floor, right? It's like, what was this one? No, that's not the one I wanted to bring up. Sorry. This one here. How do you get in contact with your lawyer or any lawyer when in detention, right? It's like, I think right now, immigration lawyers are in high demand. Can you even find an immigration lawyer in this day and age? Is there, how do you, if you have a lawyer, how do you get in contact with them? Well, you have their contact number, of course, but I guess maybe that the other way to frame this, can you even get an immigration lawyer if you don't have one already
Yes,
in this day and age?
yes, you can.
Okay.
Some of us are not. I do, although I still make sure it's that I can actually help the client. Some immigration attorneys don't take detained cases at all, and that's irrespective of the search. But a number of my colleagues, myself included, are doing whatever possible to help people. I'm getting calls every day. I'm not getting hired for all of them, but at least I'm making sure that I can help in every way I can. Sometimes a lot of the phone calls are just about what should we do. My brother just got picked up. Where is he? When can I hear from him? And the information that I provide could just be as little as, hey, let me check the ICE locator, or let me check it for you. There's nothing there. Check back. You can feel free to call me back in about an hour or two, or you can check it for yourself to see if there's now information. But if we are, are available, we're helping. We know that our services are very much needed at this point in time.
Okay. Miss B, go ahead.
Yeah, I know it's approaching 10 minutes here for us to be wrapping up. And so I want to tell everybody thank you. But, as community organizations, it is 2026. It's the election season. What are you guys doing in the midst of all of this to not to utilize this time to say the importance of having representation locally and looking at the midterm elections here too nationwide? What are you guys doing to galvanize or continue to educate community? And then Representative Hiltsley as well, like how is this impacting you guys' ability to be optimistic about the 2020 election season here in the state of Minnesota? Community organizations first, and then Representative Hiltsley can go.
So Malik, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
No, Malik. No, I mean, no, sorry, Monique, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. As part of CAPI's work, we do a lot of community advocacy too, and public policy, civic engagement work. So we do voter engagement. We typically hold workshops on getting educated on just the voting process. We will have to see how those unfold this year, but we do a lot of virtual phone banking too, just letting people know that the voting season is coming up and letting them know they have a right to vote. And just partnering with other organizations, community organizations too, that reach out to various immigrant community groups just to let them know they have a right to vote if they, but yeah, it's just super important. We do a lot of social media campaigns, everything, just letting people know what's coming up, who is on the ballot, and all of that. So,
okay, Aru, anything ASO is doing?
Yeah, we do similar efforts. We typically work with at least 10 trained community leaders. We train them to be out in the community, door knocking, tabling, engaging community members on, how to register to vote, how do you vote, collecting voter pledges. We also conduct candidate forums so that community has a direct exposure to understanding what is the agenda and platform of each of the candidates and how best do you make an informed decision when it comes to voting, and just providing basic information about elections and when primaries are happening, when generals are happening, etc. If anyone is interested in becoming a trained community member, a canvasser in the community, do contact us.
Okay, Malika?
So we do a lot of the similar things, whether it's of voter registration. Election judges is something that was mentioned. It's very important that people that look like us become election judges and welcome people into polls. A lot of times we're not represented in those spaces. Pre-registering people as early as 16 to be able to vote. Caucusing is going to be very, very important. Teaching people how to caucus. Drafting resolutions and things like that. We're going to be doing a lot of support. And leading up to the elections, we do bipartisan candidate report cards to see how the various candidates stack up to our community values. So be on the lookout for all of those.
Okay. Veronica, do you have anything to add in terms of what you guys doing for the elections? I know you're dealing with a lot of youth.
Yes, we're doing a lot of youth education. Most of the youth that we are getting have not voted before. And so getting them involved, understanding who are the candidates, and participating. We're working together with ASA as a partner in that. And so getting more of our youth involved, and I think putting in the right people who can support the work that we do.
Okay. Rosalita, is there anything your organization is doing in terms of the election, 2026 election?
Yes, we do encourage everyone who is able to vote to register, and we run community members to vote. And even those who don't have rights, we normally organize for them to come and to the polling station to vote. So we basically tell them to use their voices, because their voices is the one that can lead to the effective elections. So we rally people and we give rights and we do education, as Veronica was saying.
Okay, okay, thank you for that. John or maybe Leo, you guys can take this quick, right? We'll soon wrap up here, folks. But when the questions come in, let's give for the opportunity. Right? If someone has a pending application for adjustment of status, what do you need to equip yourself with when you're out? I mean, when you're out in the community, I guess. Maybe Leo
Sure.
yeah.
So I would say have a copy of your receipt notice when you file for adjustment of status, which would be your Form I-485. You're given a receipt notice that has, of course, your name, your receipt number, the date it was filed. Have a copy of that with you. You might have also already filed and received a work authorization document, which is like that work card. Make sure you have a copy of that on you as well. If you don't have the work card, then just the proof that you have that your adjustment of status is pending, which would be your receipt notice.
Okay, okay. And I mean, I know like there is like a humanitarian thing, right? What will happen to someone who is detained and has some medical condition? Do they are they still going to take them into detention? Or Leo, maybe that is for you again.
Good question. That has been coming up more so during the last 2 to 3 days. We've had situations where someone is picked up and moved to Texas, El Paso, and we have found out that if you contact the detention center and let them know that this person needs their medication, has prescriptions, actually, show them, a copy of the prescription or whatever, they will make sure that that person gets their medication. If they do have a medical condition, I'm sad to say that that's not necessarily stopping ICE from rounding up the person. But if it's someone who has a medical condition and who is on medication and constantly needs their medication, I think you can get that message across to where the person is being detained so that they get their meds.
Okay, okay. Miss B.
Just want to clarify some things here to make sure that when it comes to voting, yes, you must be a legal citizen. Naturalized citizens can also vote as well. You must be a legal citizen to vote in the elections. You do not need to be a citizen to be involved in the caucus, right? Green card holders can also be involved in caucusing. You can be a delegate. And so you can show up on February 3rd for caucus and be a delegate and support on that. Just wanted to make that correction and clarity. And then also real quick, we just want to touch on some high level do's and don'ts and some know your rights pieces here for citizens and for business owners. Just, for me, I understand that there's the Fourth Amendment signs that businesses have. I've gone and seen it. Businesses have them up. You can say that this is private property. ICE, you are not allowed here without a warrant. Those are some good practices for business owners as well. Some businesses are choosing to lock their doors. They can still be in operation. You can decide how you want to operate and continue to operate and be protective of your customers that are coming to your store. You have every right to protect your customers. And again, remember, like the lawyers shared here, that when they do have a judicial warrant to enter your place, it's specific to person and places in which they can have access to. So if you're a business owner and you allow somebody into your space, let them know that they're only having access to that particular person if the person's in there. And then there are protective spaces within your place that you can even protect even further. That's, I believe, is the kitchen, a private office. Okay. Those places are protected. Those are for some do's and don'ts for business owners. A lot of these community organizations, if you contact them, they have these know your rights things. They can create flyers for you to post to save on some of those expenses. I know Acer will be able to print things out for you and create multiple copies and things for you, as well as Cappy, to make sure that you can have those things posted throughout your business to protect you, your staff, and your customers.
Okay. John Leo, though, as we wrap up very quickly, we have seen some incident where ICE agents are going into Target or to other businesses and arresting folks. I mean, thing Miss V is saying, we have, and Target hasn't said anything, right? There's a lot of businesses, a lot of Fortune 500 businesses in Minnesota haven't said anything, but ICE are going into those facilities and arresting people. John Leo, that is for either of you.
Yeah, I think it's all about where there's a reasonable expectation of privacy. So if they're going into like restaurants or big stores, if it's in the main areas of those stores, they can, essentially be there. But if it's a place where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy, like Ms. B just mentioned, like, anywhere that has a sign employees only, those private areas, the back rooms, the kitchen, they can't be there without a warrant. And I'll let John go ahead and piggyback on, say what he has to say on that, about that as well.
That's a very good description, Leo. That's the general rule of thumb, is just if the public has access to it, ICE and CBP can have access to it. So what we've been doing a lot of is recommending to businesses, small businesses that have easy ins and outs, can lock their door and just choose who they want to admit. You're right. If you have a restaurant that has a main dining area, ICE CBP can walk right in just as any other customer could, but they couldn't walk right into the kitchen. The difference there is, it's much easier to deny them through a locked door than it is to deny them access to the kitchen when they're in the dining room. And it's much easier to deny them through that locked door than to ask them to leave your restaurant. You have the right to do that. They would be trespassing if they did not do that, if they did not leave when you asked them to. But we have seen repeatedly that they're not going to respect those property rights. But generally, locked doors have done a pretty good job, not a 100% job, but a pretty good job of keeping ICE and CBP out of those businesses. So that's what we recommend there.
Yeah, well, folks, we got to wrap up here. The questions are still coming in. Good questions, but we can't take all night. We got to try to wrap this thing up, though. But before I go around and turn it back to Huldah, and then we'll get last word from everyone. There's an important question. What if your green card is expired, right? During the government shutdown, there are folks who green card expire and they have not been able to renew it, right? What sort of a document can you present to ICE if you ever encounter them, Leo?
If your green card is expired and you haven't had a chance to file for renewal, show them a copy of the expired green card. If they're that desperate, they should be able to look it up and see that you're a permanent resident. However, if you know that your green card is expired or soon to be expired, I would strongly recommend that you file for renewal as soon as possible on Form I-90. When you file, you might not get that green card for another 8 or 9 months. It's long processing times, but you'll get a receipt notice. Keep the copy of the receipt notice with you. And that coupled with a copy of the expired green card should be enough.
Okay. Well, folks, as I said, we can't take all night. The questions are really coming in great, but we got to try to wrap up here. It's been a great conversation. It's been a great community initiative. So, Representative Huldah, I will turn things back over to you, and then maybe we'll go around the room and get some last word from everyone.
Okay, so I'll try to be really quick. Obviously, there is more to talk about. There's still questions that are coming in. So that goes to show that we have, especially as community leaders, experts on the forum, we have a lot of work to do, you guys. That means our community still needs this information. And so I am requesting that Inner Circle podcast, we can talk about collaborating with these community organizations and experts experts too, if we can do even a bi-weekly, or talk to John and see how are they doing it on a weekly basis. Because let me tell you something, this is not easy to sit here and put something like this on, right? Like the Inner Circle podcast, we're not paying them to do this, and so maybe John, you can help us out on how you guys being able to have this constant, seminars or educational seminars, because I love that you guys are doing that. But guess what? There are certain pockets of our community, especially African immigrant community, that is not going to tune in into your session, right? Because they're like, I don't know, John, I don't know if he can really relate to our community. And so I am trying to encourage all of us to figure out how can we collaborate together. And I'll call you on the side, John, and talk about how you're able to do that so that we can support, Inner Circle podcast to be able to put on a weekly. So everybody knows, all right, y'all, on Sunday night, we're going to get together as a family and continue having this conversation because of the high need that we're seeing. All right. With that said, these are tangible ways that the community can get involved. Right now, where we can make the biggest impact as community is putting pressure on Congress. Right now, next week, this coming week, actually, they are debating additional funding for DHS. My people, reach out to your congressperson. Tell them to vote no more funding to ICE, no more funding to DHS. That will help, obviously, hopefully slow down the operations here in the state of Minnesota and across the country. So that's something tangible you can do. Continue showing up peacefully to protest and to community events. Document. John and Leo talked about, especially ACLU, they are filing lawsuits against the current administration. And they're not able to do that if they don't have proof, right? So make sure you're documenting. And if you don't know how to do that, reach out to organizations. They are doing training on how you can tangibly and safely do that. And then demand local law enforcement, protect peaceful protest and investigate agitations. Demand that from your local enforcement. Contact members again of Congress locally, nationwide, not just in Minnesota, but also nationally about not voting no to DHS funding. And then lastly, accountability follows authority. Direct pressure to the right places, you guys. Because if we sit here and yell on top of our lungs, if we're not putting pressure on those people who have the authority to actually make a difference, we're just making noise. But at the same time, that noise is needed when we have nothing else to do. So I really want to thank everybody who showed up today. We will talk about when the next conversation will happen because of the need of our community needing more information about this. So I really want to thank everybody. I'm not going to go around the horn and mention everybody, but I really want to thank you, especially Inner Circle Podcast.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what we're gonna do. I'll give each of the panelists 1 minute just to, their last word and their message to the community. So I will start with I will go first. What is your message to the community on behalf of ASA? What are you working on, and what is your message to the community as we wrap this thing up tonight? Great conversation, by the way. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's definitely scary times, but let's as community make sure we're operating from a point of facts and not mere fear. We learned a lot of information from here. Let's make sure to share that information with our friends, our loved ones, our neighbors, and think from facts.
Okay, Rosalita, 1 minute. What is the message to the community from your organization?
Yeah, we do have so much resources and we are able to access them. So please don't be afraid. I wanted to add that there's an organization called ADRA, Adventist Development and Relief Agency, that is in Minnesota. And if you need help, you can either.
Oh, okay, you were on mute. You put yourself on mute. Can you get off mute, please?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I was saying we have so much resources that we are able to access them, and do not be afraid to ask the leaders to show you where you can get the help. And again, we need you as the community members to help us identify those people who are affected or impacted so we can help you better. And then all of us, we need each other to support one another. So don't be afraid and reach out to your community leaders. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Veronica, real quick. Message to the community.
I just want to let them know that this shall pass. We're here together. We're here to support you. If you need any kind of help, don't be scared. Nothing is too hard. We have too many brains together that we can do this. So even if you feel your case is difficult, don't worry. Just come. Let's talk about it. We can
Okay.
brainstorm and fix it, and we shall be there. If you need any help with your kids or anything, just reach out, and we're here to support you.
Okay. Monique Hernandez on keep copy the message to
Yeah,
the community on behalf of copy. Yeah. Last
yeah.
word.
Yeah, it feels terribly, just terrible right now. But as we have seen in the past, this will not last forever. And there are people here that are standing up, showing up, that we have resources, just everybody on this call, so many other organizations that have resources to help. And we will stand in solidarity. We will fight for our immigrant and refugee neighbors. But yeah, we're here for you, and it will end.
Malika.
I'm going to end with I've never been prouder to be a Minnesotan. The way our community has shown up and continues to show up for each other is unprecedented, and we are setting a standard for the rest of the country. So, way to show up for one another. And somebody asked about the march on the day of strike on Saturday, the 23rd. You can stay home from school, work, and all of that. There's also a march at 2:00 in downtown. If you are able to show up, and let's continue to support each other.
Okay, Leo, as an immigration lawyer in a community getting so much call, what is your message to the community? Your last word.
My message is to keep the faith. Use your mind. Stay organized. There are resources. Stay tapped into your community organizations. There's a lot of material out there on the things you can do to prepare. Make sure you have your original documents. Keep them at home. Walk around with copies. If you have children, I strongly encourage you to even plan, do more planning. DOPA documents, make sure you have those ready. Powers of attorney. Make sure that a close family member or friend has your A number, in case, because all these things make it easier to track you down and do some work for you, some meaningful work if you do get picked up. So keep the faith and remain hopeful.
Okay, John, last word from you.
Thanks. We'd just like to echo those calls to if you are recording, or if you are observing, or if you are following, or if you are racially profiled, the ACLU does want to hear from you. We want to put that in the lawsuit. We want to amend those lawsuits. We want to make sure that the courts hear about how this is going on, some restrictions on how ICE can behave. So those should be reported to the ACLU, and they should be reported to the Attorney General as well. The Attorney General has a reporting form. And then I just want to echo Monique and what Malika said. The federal government expected when they rolled in here was that everybody hated immigrants as much as they come, and what they have seen is that Minnesota is a welcoming community, and that what we built here is built on the strength of immigrants, and will be built on the strength of immigrants going forward, and that when they leave, we will remain, and that we will rebuild, and that we'll be stronger after they're gone.
Yeah. Well, folks, it's been a good conversation. I mean, thanks to all of you for showing up. But Ms. B, anything to add before we wrap this thing up? It's been a long night. Anything? As my co-host going through this.
Just want to say thank you, and we're here standing in solidarity with community.
Okay. Well, folks, again, panelists, thank you so much. There's so much question that came in. We couldn't get to every one of them, but as Huldah said, right, maybe we might do this regularly because the community have so much question, so many questions coming in, but we can't get to every one of them. But thank you so much, panelists, and we hope we can continue this conversation. Thank you, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you all, and have a good night.